With Uncharted 1 and 2 recapped, it's now time to get stuck into the most recent game in the series, Uncharted 3: Drake's Deception. If you haven't played it, this video is riddled with spoilers, just like part 1 and 2. The story kicks off with Nate and Sully meeting a man named Talbot in London who wants to purchase Nate's ring, which belonged to his ancestor Francis Drake, for a client. Things don't go to plan when the two find out Talbot has brought fake banknotes. They fight off Talbot's goons semi-successfully and have a run-in with the nasty aforementioned client, Catherine Marlowe, who steals Drake's ring right before Sully and Nate are both shot. Since those two don't appear to be going anywhere anytime soon, the story shoots us back 20 years to join a 15-year-old Nathan Drake who's looking for Francis's ring in a Colombian museum. This is where baby Nate meets Sully for the first time, who was working with Marlowe to retrieve Drake's ring, but ultimately decides to rescue Nate from the agents instead, and takes him on as a protege. Back in the present day, we find out that the shooting was faked by Nate and Sully's friend, Charlie Cutter, and that the entire plan was devised to flush out Marlowe. Nate and Sully get more help from another old friend, Chloe, who traces Marlowe's car to an underground library where they discover that Francis Drake was commissioned by Queen Elizabeth I and her advisor John Dee to search for the lost city of Ubar. Nate does his investigation thing and susses out that clues to the city's location can be found in Crusader crypts, in a French chateau, and a Syrian citadel. Nate and Sully kick on to France where they find half an amulet inside a crypt and are then ambushed by Talbot, who takes it. Then to spice things up a bit, flesh-eating spiders gnaw on one of Talbot's men. Our heroes escape and the chateau is set on fire, which is the only appropriate course of action when you see spiders. Nate and Sully head off to Syria and meet up with Chloe and Cutter, who've learned Marlowe is the head of Secret Order, the same order Francis Drake was in. They find the other half of the amulet and decide that they should head to Yemen. Unfortunately, an encounter with Marlowe's men results in Cutter breaking his leg, so he and Chloe are unable to come along. And here we are, the part of the recap where we find out just how Nate and Elena's love life is doing. Turns out, not super well, as these two have not only been married between games, but also separated and presently estranged. Nonetheless, Elena is eventually persuaded into helping them locate an underground tomb, where they discover the lost city of Ubar is in the Rub al-Khali desert. Unfortunately, they also discover more shitty little flesh-hungry spiders. Now this is where shit really hits the fan. Nate is shot with a hallucinogenic dart, and freaks out at Elena and Sully before running off on his own. He's then nabbed by Marlowe, who says she has a bunch of documents about Nate's childhood. He tries to get away but is nabbed again, this time by Ramses, a pirate working for Marlowe. Ramses interrogates Nate for info and claims to have captured Sully. Nate escapes his captors yet again and searches for Sully on the pirate's stolen cruise ship. Discovering Sully isn't aboard, Nate detonates a grenade, blowing the ship open, and shoots Ramses, who then shoots out the ship's glass ceiling, flooding the vessel and killing himself in an effort to take out Nate. But Nate manages to escape because that's what Nate does. Escape stuff, like his captors, and death-defying situations, and his marriage. Nate washes ashore and reunites with Elena. She tells him that the baddies do have Sully, and he's being forced to lead Marlowe to Ubar. Nate attempts to rescue him by sneaking onto a cargo plane, which works great right up until the plane is torn apart by an explosion, and Nate plummets to the desert below, narrowly deploying a cargo parachute. After a very long desert wander, Nate runs into Marlowe's men, but a man named Salim and his tribe ride in to save the day. Nate's new best friend Salim tells him Ubar was doomed by King Solomon thousands of years ago, when he imprisoned evil jinn within a brass vessel and threw it into the sea. In short, genies in a bottle. Evil genies in a bottle. Nate and Salim take out Marlowe's convoy and save Sully, but sadly Nate and Sully lose Salim in a sandstorm just as they reach the gates to Ubar. Once inside the city, Nate drinks from a mysterious water fountain, which seems like a terrible idea. They witness a solar eclipse, and then Talbot and Marlowe arrive and shoot Sully dead. Nate chases them down and fends off Marlowe's men, who have been seemingly possessed by said evil genies. Nate trips out hard and has twisted visions of his childhood, before finally sobering up and finding Sully alive and well. Sully explains that Ubar's water supply is tainted from when the evil genie bottle was thrown into the water, and now it causes hallucinations. It seems Francis Drake opted for the smart route and abandoned his quest for the genie vessel upon discovering this. Our heroes find the villain of the story, Marlowe, winching the vessel up from the water. Talbot nearly kills Sully by kicking him into the water, but Nate dives in and destroys the winch, accidentally exploding the central cistern, causing the city to begin collapsing. Marlowe gets trapped in a sinkhole, and even though she sucks, Nate tries to save her, but he ultimately fails and nobody really minds, although she does drag Drake's ring down with her. Talbot and Nate have a final face-off that ends with Sully and Nate shooting him until he also falls into the sinkhole. Salim then rides in the nick of time to save Sully and Nate. Back at the airport, Sully tells Nate he's the son he never had and gives Nate back his wedding ring, which he'd kept safe after Nate and Elena separated. Elena and Nate decide to make a go of it again, still not questioning whether they're at all right for each other, and the three fly off in Sully's sweet new plane. If you've caught all three of these videos, you're officially ready for Uncharted 4, and count me incredibly surprised if Elena and Nate have kept things stable between Uncharted 3 and 4. Let me know what your favorite Uncharted moment has been in that comment box, and thanks for watching.